Hello again. On to another fresh from the cinema of sorts review. Today's video is going to be a little different than the previous Fresh Thoughts reviews. This one is actually something that's not in cinema. It's a exclusive to Netflix movie. Today I'm going to be reviewing Rob Zombie's The Munsters. This is a movie that I've been pretty interested in seeing since I first heard about it, just because even though it's decades before my time, I grew up watching The Munsters. I had the show on DVD. I really enjoyed it. I'm a huge classic Universal Monsters fan, so I dug it. It was a really cool, fun show. And when I heard Rob Zombie was going to be doing a film remake adaptation, I was very curious because he's primarily known for doing really intense horror movies that push the limit on what an R rating can have. And even then, I was a little nervous, like, is he gonna go for like a hard, raunchy version? Not that that can't work, but with The Munsters, I felt like that would seem a bit much. But then it was announced that Rob Zombie was gonna be doing a PG family-aimed Munsters film. When I heard that, I was like, Rob Zombie, PG, family-friendly.
Do you fuck chickens?
If you want to have a good time, cut that chicken's head off, stick your dick in that ass.
That is some deep, faggoty ass shit, man.
That does not fucking compute. Then the trailer dropped, and I know the trailer got a lot of negative backlash. I did a reaction video to it over on my Movie Buff Reactions channel, and, well, yeah, it wasn't the best trailer to advertise the film. I could see some strengths that it had, but, again, I was still a bit nervous, because the humor seemed pretty different than what we came to expect from The Munsters, but it definitely seemed different than what Rob Zombie normally does. And before I jump into the film, I just want to say, I enjoy Rob Zombie. I like his music. House of a Thousand Corpses remains a Halloween seasonal favorite of mine. His Halloween movies, I was not a fan of. The first Halloween, I will be completely honest, I fucking despise that movie. It's one of my top 10 most hated films. Just for a guy who loves, lives, breathes, eats, shits horror, it almost felt like a movie made by somebody who hates the horror genre. And Halloween 2, not as bad. It definitely had more redeeming qualities, but it still had the problems of the first one. And yeah, his work's been kind of up and down, a bit mixed, but with this film, I can say, and I've been avoiding everybody who would probably review it, because I just wanted to get a fresh perspective, and I can say, I really liked this movie. It was a lot of fun. Definitely had some flaws, but I really liked it. You could definitely see, like, he is a die-hard fan of the Munsters, and this is a movie I feel like you have to be a fan of the TV show to really get into it. I mean, it does some stuff different, but it still has enough, there's enough callbacks, and the love for the show is just dripping throughout the film, like blood, if they could have shown it. And the two biggest things that are the most appealing are definitely the heart that went into this film. Like, there is definitely true passion here, and the other thing is the cast. The actors all gave their A-game. Sometimes the writing's a little hit and miss, but the actors particularly, and this was the big surprise, Sheri Moon Zombie really fucking shines as Lily Munster. She was emulating parts of Yvonne DiCarlo's Lily Munster, but she made it her own, and I felt like this was like the perfect new Lily Munster. I goddamn loved Sheri Moon Zombie in this. Jeff Daniel Phillips as Herman Munster. I was not exactly fond of what they showed in the trailer. They showed him as having a very nasally voice, and he seemed like he was going to be a lot more obnoxious without the charm of Fred Gwynne as Herman. But I watched this and there is a explanation for why he's kind of more obnoxious than he was in the previous incarnation. We see in the beginning, and this movie is, when you come down to it, it's kind of a prequel story to what would become the main storyline of the show. Eddie Munster, the son, and Marilyn, their niece, they're not in this. They haven't become part of the story yet. This is all about how Herman and Lily met, and it was a pretty good meet and fall in love story. And we see that his creator, a guy named Dr. Wolfgang, played by Richard Brake, who in the limited scenes he has really eats up the film in a good way. We see that his assistant, Floop, played by George Garcia, just like in the Frankenstein story, got the wrong fucking brain. And like, he was supposed to get the brain of a genius, but he got instead the brain of the guy's brother, I believe, who was a really bad stand-up comedian who got killed for just how awful his jokes were. So that's why Herman has a bit more of a obnoxious personality, but I'll say, Jeff Daniel Phillips, while the nasally voice was kind of a turn-off at first, he really grew on me, and the chemistry that he has with Sherry Moon Zombie was incredible. It was virtually on par with Fred Gwynn and Yvonne DiCarlo's chemistry from the TV show, and I really dug it. I got into it pretty well, and I love the scenes of them together. The new Count, or as we would generally know him from the show, Grandpa, played by Daniel Roebuck. He was one, I like Jeff Daniel Phillips. He kind of grew on me. He gives a good performance. It's not Al Lewis, but he kind of makes it his own. You grow to enjoy him, and he's funny as the film goes on. The first 20 minutes were a little bumpy, but the film really did start to grow. And just because I feel it's fair, I think I should list the cons I had with this movie. The first one, and this is just a tiny one, I thought the title drop for the Munsters was not very dramatic in the opening. Like, it could have had a more impactful title drop, but that's just small. The main issues that I have with this movie, like I said, it is flawed. The main issue I have is this movie has a surprisingly slow pace, and I think it goes on just a little too long. The Munsters is a silly, goofy comedy when you come down to it, so I don't think this film really needed to be an hour and 50 minutes. I think it could have been cut down by 15 minutes, maybe 20, but yeah, it went on, and while there was a lot of enjoyment, and I said you could really get into the characters, the pace was very slow, particularly before Herman shows up. Like, Herman Munster doesn't appear until about 15 or 20 minutes into the movie, and I was real nervous up until that point. And once he showed up, I really started to enjoy the ride. But again, this film feels like it could have worked better if it had been cut down a little, or maybe moved along a little faster. Another flaw I have is the cinematography is really all over the place. This movie goes for a lot of moving, tilted angles, and I don't know, just because the show and also Rob Zombie's previous films, I don't remember them having this type of cinematography before, at least the ones I've seen, so it just threw me off a little. It was a little disoriented in some parts, and there's also this weird thing throughout that may be a tribute to Creepshow, where every time a character has a big emotional moment, the background around them goes animated. Also, the transitioning, which is also a bit reminiscent of Creepshow. I mean, I love the animation transitions in Creepshow, but here with the Munsters, I don't feel like it matches the general tone or characters of this franchise. Daniel Roebuck, well, I think he really does a good job shining as the Count. I don't particularly care for the relationship that he and Herman have in this film. They kind of start to have even ground near the end of the movie, but for the most part, it was pretty antagonistic, mostly from the Count, but I don't know, I love Herman, I love Grandpa on the show. Them working together, I mean, yes, this is a prequel before everybody becomes the family, but I'm not sure having him hate Herman was what I really wanted to see. I mean, he could have been a little annoyed, but it was not a pleasant relationship, and I was glad that they started to kind of like each other near the end, but I really didn't get into it. Lastly, and this is my last big flaw I have with the film, a big thing that people were upset about with the trailers was that it was made clear the movie was going to be in color, and I've seen the Munsters in color before. They've done the previous movies where they were in color with the original cast, and they always looked their best in black and white, and the color is handled well here. Like, the design for this film is a real standout, but we get moments, little snippets where they're in black and white. It shows it really could have worked, and while the colors are handled as well as they could be, I still think black and white would have been the way to go, and it also would have been a little less hard on the eyes, just not quite as bright and blaring. But those are my few flaws. It's a bit slow, but you could really get into it. You just gotta have a little patience, I feel. And as for the stuff that I really fucking liked, start off, as I said, aside from the cast, who all are fucking excellent, the supporting cast is really good too. Richard Brake, George Garcia, they're a lot of fun. The Dr. Wolfgang character does not get featured enough, but when he is featured, he just eats it up, and George Garcia as Floop, he was my favorite supporting character, and I'm a little disappointed that he kind of disappeared after Herman and Lily got married, but he and Herman, like, he's Herman's buddy, and they work well together, and there's also a glorified cameo from Cassandra Peterson, aka Elvira, as a real estate agent who handles the Munsters' iconic home. It's mostly just a glorified cameo. She has some funny bits. It's nothing standout-ish, but it's cool that Rob Zombie featured her. I know he really likes her. She's a good friend of his. And we get some cameos from two of the surviving cast members of the show. Pat Priest, who was Marilyn, she has a voiceover cameo, which is just a voiceover, nothing special. And Butch Patrick, who played Eddie, he has the cameo that you never would have recognized it's him from unless you looked it up. He plays the Tin Can Man that would become kind of an iconic one-episode character on the show. It's not a big cameo, but it's cute in the way they use him. I like all the callbacks to classic horror, like not just the Universal monsters. We see them watching Creature from the Black Lagoon and The Mummy with Boris Karloff in some parts, but we see the Count watching in the opening of the film Abbott and Costello meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which was the first Abbott and Costello movie I ever saw, so it was cool to see that movie get a bit of love. And a big thing to give this movie props for is the set design. The design for Transylvania, the castles, is fucking wonderful. It's like a haunted house you go to on Halloween, and well, it does look a little bit like a set at times. It's no more than, say, the TV show. You really love it. Like, there is a lot of heart, again, put into this. Particularly this nightclub that Lily goes to see Herman. Like, Herman, because he has the mind of an obnoxious comedian, before they meet, tries being a comedian and surprisingly does a lot better than he did in life. He's also a musician, does heavy metal in one scene, which may sound like a bad idea, and I was a little nervous in the trailer, but they really made it work here, and the design of the club, the Zombie Go-Go, was wonderful. Now, I will concede a lot of the jokes in this film can be a bit lame, a bit cringy, just cheap, but They have a bit of charm due to Jeff Daniel Phillips' delivery, and to be fair, a lot of the jokes on the TV show were pretty cheap and lame at times, but it was the personality that really made them work, and so I don't feel like that's too harsh a thing to say if anybody's saying that about this. Some of the jokes that I thought were going to be really bad surprisingly made me laugh pretty fucking hard, so yeah, I got into it. This movie was just... It was a nice, pleasant surprise. It could have been a little more tightly put together, but I got into it. It's a nice prequel story, and who knows if he'll do more in the future. Maybe we'll get a follow-up that includes Eddie and Marilyn, and I know that the Addams family is also coming back, so I may be alone in this, but I'm one of those people that wonders, could we ever get a Munsters and Addams family crossover? I mean, nothing's impossible these days, and I guess the last thing I'll say, and skip to this mark if you don't want complete spoilers. One thing I was a little mixed on and a little nervous was how they were going to end the movie. It ends with them going to Mockingbird Lane, and they arrive on Halloween, which makes them think that this is the norm. This is the type of neighborhood they're going into. Then the next day for work, Herman comes out and sees everybody in their normal getup, and this was a hilarious note to end on. He becomes terrified, thinking, just seeing everybody in their normal looks. It's like the Munsters feel like they're in a horror movie when they see how normal everything is. I thought that was just the perfect reaction for them to have. And then Lily's money-grubbing con artist brother shows up, and the reason they moved to America from Transylvania was because he swindled Herman out of a deal. To make up for it, gives Herman part of his winnings from a trip to Vegas, and we see that apparently they're now pretty wealthy. It was a little bit of a anticlimactic way to end, just kind of a wrap-up, especially particularly with such a slightly unlikable character, being Lily's brother, Lester, the Wolfman. But the final note of them being horrified at normal America was awesome, and in the end, as a fan of the Munsters, I just had a blast. I lit up watching so much of this movie. And as for a rating, I don't know if to go over with everybody else, but I give it 4 out of 5 stars, and hopefully you enjoy it too. If you haven't seen it, I recommend checking out Netflix. Maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't, maybe you'll be mixed, but it will definitely be an experience, and hopefully more people, younger, will become introduced to the Munsters franchise. Maybe check out the original show, and I will see you again soon. My main review show, the James C. Reviews, will be returning very soon for the October season.